All right, and we are back in, everybody. Apologies for the abrupt interruption in stream. My internet decided to go down on me, so I had to wait for it to come back up. Now that it's back, we're gonna keep playing. Well, hopefully it's back. I don't know if it's fully back up and running, but we're gonna give it a try here. If it goes down again, we will have to deal with it. All right. Turn down the volume here. And we got an ad starting. We're actually in an ad break. See everybody back here in a few minutes. Thanks for sticking around. All right, and thanks for waiting. We are back. Now we're gonna do, hopefully we can actually go through and make some progress here today. I did just recently have an internet outage, which caused my stream to end abruptly after I finished Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider. But it's all right. We're gonna keep pushing through, and we're gonna run through some Subnautica Below Zero right now and see what trouble we can get into. Turn down the audio settings, so now we're just gonna go ahead and start a new game and see what happens. Like survival? No, it's fine. We're gonna do survival. Only way to get better at the game is do survival. No. Oh. Wow, okay. Definitely doing survival. That sounds interesting. Don't know what we're going to expect from it, but apparently we get to investigate the death of my sister. Let's see what
This is
happens.
the farthest that I can take you on company space bucks, Robin. You sure you want this? The research isn't everything.
It is to me. And Sam. I need to know what happened.
The meteor storm.
I can use it for cover from Altera's eyes.
Gonna miss you, Robin.
I'll find my way back.
Maybe. This is different though. Instead of the ship crashing on the planet, at least this ship for my playable character, we're actually going to the planet willingly.
Drop pod deployed.
This will be interesting. And it still crashed, but not as big as...
Welcome to 4546 speed. Enjoy your stay.
Oh shit. Definitely probably should not have gotten close to that. That's fine. See if there's any... Doesn't look like it. I don't know where we're... Well, okay, maybe something else did crash. Where am I going? I'm just going, I imagine I'm going to end up going to the life pod there. Some water, got a couple flares. So it looks like it's basically all my resources crashing down on the planet. And we'll find out if they destroyed the other ship. I don't know. As soon as I figure out how to get there. Instrument, okay. Alright, let's try to figure out how... Food, okay. Looks like we can go this way.
Holy smokes. That did not go as planned. I should find a way into the water and get to the drop pod.
Well, if only we'll see if the suit will work in the water. Oh, it'll work. It's just if it's, you know, going to actually work, meaning, you know, if it's gonna, temperature is gonna be a factor. Well, they definitely made the definitely made it look better. The graphics are a heck of a lot better in this game than they were in the first one. Not that the first one was bad. Just got to be mindful of oxygen, because you don't have as much as they did in the other game, so. Let me pick anything up yet. Maybe it was... Nope, it won't let me pick it up. Okay. Oh, this is different. The pod's under... Okay.
Found the drop pod.
That's a little different. Alright. We can keep the flares with us for now.
Well, Sam, I guess I might as well gather some tools and resources before starting my search. Hope that radio tower's as easy to spot as Lil said.
There's a specific tool I want to make if I can. I can't. I need silicone rubber for that, and I need a battery for you. What do I need for a battery? I can't remember. Okay, so you need copper and a ribbon plant. Whatever that is, that's new. Let's go looking. Have to stay semi-close because we can't really...
Should be able to use this.
Okay, so now I need a ribbon plant, whatever that is. But in order to use the ribbon plant,
Oxygen.
all right, let's go up, and then we got to go into settings. So I gotta turn that on real quick because I forgot about that setting. Well, I don't know if that setting exists in this game. Let's see if it does. No, look conversion's horrible. See, because there was a setting that allowed when you were in the PDA and the other Subnautica that you wouldn't run out of air and you wouldn't consume oxygen, and that's what I want to see if that exists in this game. No. Okay.
Dangerous weather approaching. Seek shelter.
All right, well, we don't really have time to find out. We need to just move because they're telling me seek shelter. So we're gonna
Ribbon plants contain electrolytic
fuck
materials
is
that
that?
can be used in energy storage.
God damn. Welcome back, Zeke. Nice to see you back in here after the issues with my last stream's internet connectivity for a second. I gotta go up. Plus side is, you know what? We had the plus side is the internet went down right as I switched the game. So I finished Tomb Raider. Yeah, you know what? It could be worse. So I'm gonna just roll with it for now. It could be much worse. Alright, let's see, because we should need to make the scanner so I can actually find, well, I need to make the battery to make the scanner. You know what, the only plus side, I guess, is this. At least, you know, it didn't go down in the middle of a workday, because that would have been worse to me for it to go down in the middle of a workday versus, you know, when I'm just playing a game. If I had to pick, I'd rather have it go down. No problem. See you in a bit. Thanks for the alert.
All right, I have a scanner.
All right, we don't need the battery at the moment. I need to find silicone rubber, which in this game it requires creepvine clusters still. Okay. Decent on food. I have to, you know, no, hold on. I don't think that's gonna, I'm probably gonna need, okay, so actually, okay, so then no, I won't need a knife for that. Let's just do a quick save. What is that? That sounds creepy as fuck. Whatever that is. I mean, I know what the creep vine. Well, I don't know in this game because it's reddish, so it's not the same. I'm gonna imagine it's got to be close though.
Oxygen.
I just don't know where. But it's cool to have a whole bunch of new stuff to explore. New ocean, new world.
Oxygen.
Gonna need to fix that fast because we're burning through oxygen way too fast. And those look like they're penguins. Maybe. Can't tell from this distance. Let's go find out. Right. We aren't going to be able to stay up here because that weather's shit. Need to find some more titanium, and I don't like what I'm hearing. Gonna have to go up to the surface here in a second. Want to find
Oxygen.
Let's get up. Well, hope we make it. We are gonna be close. We made it. I'll take that as a win. Alright, good shit. Just don't really want to do that again. Need to find.
New creature discovered.
Need to find the creep vine though. It's just I don't see any, and I also again have to be mindful.
Oxygen.
I wonder. And we're not gonna worry about that, we're just gonna get up. Let's see what we got. Don't know where it's at in this game. I've yet to see any. And I gotta be careful because oxygen is definitely a thing. And we have so little of it right now. I don't feel like drowning.
Oxygen.
Yeah, this is gonna get irritating fast because we are losing too much oxygen too fast. I mean, it makes sense, but I would just prefer to have more than what I have.
New creature discovered.
Need to find the creep vine. That's my primary objective right now. And some titanium, but
Oxygen.
so I don't think we're gonna make it this time. We might actually drown. Yeah, we drowned that time. That's fine. Did I lose anything though? No, I didn't lose anything, but we still drowned because I was not able to make it to the surface. Alright, so I need trying to stay in proximity of this life pod while I'm doing
Calorie
this.
intake recommended.
Fine, we can. You. We'll have to pay attention to oxygen. We got
Oxygen.
copper, but we'll worry about that in a minute.
Oxygen.
Yes, we got the oxygen taken care of for now. Can't do anything with that. Right, where's the pod? That way.
Oxygen.
Right, yep. We are definitely going to need to figure out, like, oxygen stuff faster because we're burning through oxygen way too fast. I need to find. Well, let's see what I can do about oxygen real quick. I don't know what I can do at this point because, well, so I need titanium and fiber mesh to work on that. There. Fine, okay. Problem is finding all this stuff. It's a, I don't know where a lot of this stuff is in this game type thing yet.
Vital signs stabilizing.
Which is fine. It's just gonna be hard to. It's harder to find it because it's not the same color, but we got it. We'll figure it all out. I can't do any cured food because I don't have any. So we'll cook a couple fish just so we've got it. I mean, chances are, I don't know actually in this game how it's going to work because it's colder. So maybe the fish will not go bad if I keep them with me. No idea. Just gotta. I know they're gonna rot if they're cooked or not cooked, so I may as well get my inventory cooked. And now, so this looks like some type of coral, but I can't do anything with it. At least I can't scan it, and I don't have a knife. Go so far. What the hell is that? Well, let's get up to the surface. Oh, let's get greedy real quick, kind of. Now let's get up to the surface.
Oxygen.
Yeah, I need to find. Wonder what this is. Not that. I wonder what. Nothing I can do anything with yet. Okay, let's keep moving. We just gotta keep looking for stuff. But stay semi-close to the surface as well, because of air. Now, here's most likely here's some type of creepvine stuff. Septi. Can't do anything with it yet because I don't apparently have a knife. At least I won't let. Let's get closer and find out with nothing in my hands. Yeah, can't do anything to that. Oh, welcome back, Zeke. Trying to find creepvine stuff and the ability to get a knife, and it is proving to be a challenge because this is the creepvine, but I can't get any of it. I don't have a knife, and I can't find any creepvine seeds to get the silicone, and I'm probably not. Yeah, I made it this time. So I'm trying to find creepvine seeds. I think the creepvine seeds. You know what, let's go up to the surface because I still lose oxygen. Yeah, I need the creepvine seed clusters, which I don't see any here. All I see is creepvines. Oh, there we go. Just didn't look far enough down. Let's do a quick scan. And then let's pick up what I can. Perfect. Now to the surface. Now I can make my knife.
New blueprint synthesized.
In a minute, and then I can come back here and I can get the oxygen improvement because I'm bleeding through oxygen like mad here. Then again, I'm spoiled because I played through the first Subnautica and now I could almost never run out of air, and if I did, I would just go to a vehicle. I don't have any vehicles at the moment. And I don't know what's available yet. Inventory's full. Can I?
Oxygen.
This is. I gotta get this oxygen situation under control better. We'll come back for it. It's fine. Alright, let's make some silicone rubber. Okay, they didn't change up too much. That's all I need for the knife. So let's go ahead. Make my knife. Alright, good shit. Got my knife. Now we can go. Where's the exit? Right there. One of the big things that's different though is like instead of the pod being on the surface this game too, the pod is underwater, which is a nice change. Maybe. Or it might be worse. I don't know yet. Have to wait and see. I can't do anything. Oh, you know what? I gotta do that. I just messed myself up for a second. We have to go drop off some resources because I can't carry anything else. Keep the eggs in there. That should be good for now. So all I need, I gotta find him again because I lost my. I think it was this way. Nothing I can do with that. Okay. There it is, right there. Perfect. Should have scanned it, but
Oxygen.
I'll have to come back down. We need to get the. I need to get the silicone or the creepvine here. This is the most important thing.
New blueprint synthesized.
Alright, good. So we got the creep vine. So what we can do is now we can head back to, we'll head to the surface because we're going to run out of oxygen. And after we head back to the surface, we'll head back to the pod. We'll see what this other oxygen tank can do for me. Maybe it can give me more than like 5 seconds, 10 seconds. I don't know. I'm not exactly counting it. But maybe I can last longer underwater. Alright, so I need silicone, rubber. I need one to make the oxygen tank. For now, that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna do the one.
Adding additional blueprints to your data bank.
Nice, got some new shit. Floating air
Standard
pump.
oxygen tank can be upgraded for deluxe and VIP breathing.
Got the repair tool. Okay, so it tells me that there's most likely gonna be 30 seconds of oxygen, whereas what did I have before? I don't know, let's find out. Let's not, because I don't really want to chance it. Alright, so let's clean up some stuff here. It's actually you got trying to get the basic survival stuff. I'm gonna imagine we're gonna need it. So we're gonna just try to use my knowledge of the first Subnautica to hopefully survive a little more in this game. So I got the knife. So for now we can unpin that. I want what do I want? I want you. So I need a bladderfish. That's fine. I can go get a bladderfish. They're right outside. Ish, anyway. Oh. Oh. I didn't realize a flare had turned on. Come here. Alright, got what I need. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make the the bladder thing that allows me to escape the surface quicker should I run out of oxygen, kind of like an emergency.
If you are tired of hearing the word oxygen, the air bladder provides a significant upward thrust to help you get to air faster.
Well, that's kind of the reason why I did it, because I'm tired of hearing you say oxygen, for one thing. Alright, so I need... which means I need a... I have quartz, so I can do that. Should be able to make all that, I think. Let's make the piece of glass. Then let's make... I don't need the knife. What do I need? That's right, the battery. I want the flashlight. Good shit. Now we can change up my equipment a little bit. You can go here. No, you're already equipped. I want the flashlight. There we go. Alright, let's see. Is anything else before I move forward that I should potentially worry about? The compass for sense of direction, yes. So I need copper wire and a wiring kit. Okay, so the wiring kit I might not be able to get right away because I haven't seen any silver, so that's fine. So we can go ahead and explore a little bit, but I have yet to see any. So let's make the copper wire. Once we made the copper wire, we will start going and going to go look for silver. But we're also gonna keep what we don't need. Not with me. We're gonna do another quick save here. Alright, so I need silver. I don't know where I'm gonna find silver at this point. Just before I can start trying to go exploring and whatnot further, I want to get the basics of survival. Once I can get the basics of survival resources, then we can go explore more. All right. Something here I can scan.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Fine, we will head to the surface. At least we had a little bit more oxygen, and at least the voice isn't as annoying when it yells at you, because the original voice was just like, you're gonna die. Get oxygen. I don't think we're gonna find silver out here. I don't know though. Ooh, what's this? Looks like a sea glide fragment.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Alright, to the surface we go. I don't know how many fragment I need for the sea glide. We can take a look. 3, okay. Can make a storage locker. I don't need the storage locker right now. I need to kind of try to find the sea glide fragments, so I can build the sea glide so I can try to move further. Oxygen plant. Ooh. Wonder what that will. Okay. That's good to know. That's new. Sea monkeys. Hopefully we're not gonna like have any creepy monkeys coming their way. We got another sea glide fragment. Good shit. If once I can find the last one, it'll make traveling a lot easier. Need to pay attention to oxygen levels. What's that? Here we go. Okay. So it replenishes itself, so that's useful. Good shit, I can find silver. I should have scanned that, though. I don't know what I'm hearing. Luckily, I don't see it.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Oxygen.
So, due to the weather, though, we can't stay up there. At least I'm figuring we can't stay up there, so we're not going to stay up there. So we're going to just keep exploring. Pretty sure we finished this area, but we're going to be thorough. Looks like we're good. Good thing is there's oxygen plant, at least that one comes back, so I imagine there will be others that do the same thing. Remember, okay, can't scan it, that's fine. Pay attention to oxygen. So that's a sea
30
monkey.
seconds of oxygen remaining.
I'm not sure. They sound friendly, but no idea. And I take coral? No. Okay. Some lead. Titanium. Titanium. Still need silver.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Yep, and then we're gonna go explore in that cave area in a minute. Once we get in. Well, I'm not sure if it's a cave, whatever you're gonna call it. We're gonna go look in there. Quartz. Where did it? The entrance go out of these. No. EDA. Not sure what this is. Mobile vehicle bay, good shit. Not what I was looking for, but any
Warning. 30
parts are
seconds
helpful.
of oxygen remaining.
Alright, so we have
See
to.
fluid intake.
I'll get there. Oh, actually, I don't have to worry about that. Because the oxygen plant just saved me from having to go back to the surface, at least for now. Sea ride fragment.
Warning.
Good shit.
30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Alright, let's get up to the surface. We got the sea glide fragment. So we can, at least see what it takes to make that. Looks like for right now, the weather should be fairly calm,
Oxygen.
I think. But we shall see. Sea glide will make it a lot easier to explore it. On our way through, we'll take another look through, see if I can find any silver. Doubt it, but it's worth a look. here. Copper, alright. Quartz. Okay, my inventory's full, so that's fine. Let's see what we got here just because we're here. I'm not really worried about that. Life pod is that way. Perfect. Let's make our way to the life pod. Okay, we'll deal with water when we get back. If need be, if it gets really bad, I can... You know, I'll just deal with it right now.
Vital signs stabilizing. Oxygen.
There we go. Nice thing about that is it recharges after each use and doesn't require a battery. Let's see what I need. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to make it in here. Okay, so I actually think I have the majority of that. So we can do... Well, actually, what do we need for it? Copper wire, lubricant. Okay, so first things first, let's make the copper wire, because I know I can make copper wire and the battery. Alright, so I need lubricant. What do I need to make lubricant? Let's see. Creepvine cluster, which I don't think I have any creepvine cluster. I have one. That's door stuff. Alright, so it's raining, it sounds like. That shouldn't be a problem. Let's go find... I think it was this way. That's the hardest part for me with this game is underwater, above water, really doesn't matter. Sense of direction is not the greatest sometimes. Eventually, there it is, I think. Yeah. Eventually I'll kind of figure it out from playing and just all, but haven't quite figured it all out yet. Here are...
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Yep. Let's go up, refill my oxygen. Let's see. See where are the seeds now? I see the vines, but I don't see any of the seeds. And I need the seeds. There we go. I still keep looking for the seeds to be yellow and the seeds are red. Which throws me a little bit. Because I'm used to them being yellow. But it's fine, it just means I need to adjust. I'm gonna have to go up for oxygen in a moment. So we may as well just head up while we're on the way back.
Oxygen.
Still want to find silver, but we'll get there. I need one more piece of silver. I will also need to eat when I get back if my food isn't bad, and drink some water. Rotten. Okay, so I can't eat the food. That's me. I can't eat the lubricant. That's right. Oh, that's fine. That's perfect. Now I can make the Sea Glide, which will help me travel around a little faster.
Transportation device used for high-speed free diving. Contains a built-in light and map.
You need to.
Calorie intake recommended.
I will have to work on that. No, I need the fabricator. Alright, let's go. We need to go this way. Because all my food is bad. So that means I need to. Actually, I can cook that and eat that, because I didn't realize I still had that one uncooked. So that'll get me by for a moment.
Vital signs stabilizing.
I wouldn't survive in real life though if I. Oh shit, it's not what I wanted to do. I wouldn't survive out here though, and if I had to eat out here, there'd be no way I'd survive. I'm too picky of an eater. Alright, so at least we got a little bit. Alright, so no, we need to make a change now. Let's do a quick save. Definitely worth scanning the fragments.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Oh, I think those might have been the bad ones. I'll have to find out when I get to the surface. Yeah, those are the bad ones. Alright, so really, we don't need you pinned anymore. Don't need you. Don't need you. I just need to find silver to make the wiring kit. I need one more piece of silver. Not sure where I'm gonna find it, but I need to find it.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Yep. I need more silver. Where was that cave? That's one problem, is I don't have beacons or anything yet. I don't even know if beacons are a thing here. Just surface real quick.
Alterra supply cache nearby.
There's ash nearby. Where? Salt. Good. That'll at least help me. Oh, right there. Good shit. And I wonder if I can pick up the beacon when I'm done and reuse it. I don't know. I don't know what's going to be there. I don't know what to expect.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
I have to go up real fast. Don't know what. A Titan? Oh shit. Fuck, I don't know what that was. But I just got attacked by something and I don't like it. Let's try and make it toward the emergency supply cache. I don't know what that was, though. That was not fun. I would have liked to have gotten a look at it, but... Food. Might be some things here I can scan to. Where?
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
If the beacon stays here, it's fine as long as it stays visible. Because this is a perfect spot for creep vines. No, we want to take a look, see if there's anything I can scan. There's a PDA. Almost missed. Something I could scan. I just saw it. What was it? No. Alright, so we got an ad that's about to start starts here in a minute, everyone.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
I'm gonna head up to the surface here. Got my oxygen replenished. There we go. We've done that. We're gonna make my way back this way, picking up some salt and whatnot.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Still burning through oxygen really fast. Alright. Let's not get stuck under here. Alright, we're going to be in a quick ad break, everyone. It'll be about 3 minutes. Give me a little bit of time here to just stretch and take a few minutes to refill my water and everything. Come on, stop moving. Unless my inventory's full. That's why my inventory's full. No, we want to go back toward the pod.
Seek fluid intake.
Alright, we're gonna quick ad break to everyone. Thanks for sticking around. To see you in about 3 minutes. All right, we are back. Thank you for sticking around. We're gonna. Oh, I didn't even realize that. I forgot, rather.
Vital signs stabilizing.
There. All right. So let's take a look around, see if we can find. Still need more copper. I need to find that cave at copper silver. But I need to find that cave entrance again while keeping in mind and being aware of my oxygen levels. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, too, yes, my inventory is now full again. So I need to make my way back to the life pod.
30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
We should make it, I hope. It's gonna be close. Good shit, we made it. Alright. So now I need to. I can't do anything with what's there, so what I can do here to try to make more room for stuff is I can craft a couple more of these. Titanium I can find without a problem for the most part. But, okay. And the reason why I'm doing this is because my inventory is too full. And I don't have a crafting tool yet. I don't know when or if I will get one. Now I want to keep the salt in a separate one. Matter of fact, we're going to do this a little smarter because I learned this. I learned that about, oh crap, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, man. You're gonna have fun with these now I'm back to Subnautica, aren't you? Aren't you, Thersy? God damn. Alright, let's just fix this. And it's fine that you are. I want the jump scares. Son of a bitch. I don't want to keep picking up the container, though. I need to rename one of you because I don't want you both named Salt and to confuse me.
Oxygen.
So we're just gonna rename you Locker for now because I don't think, yeah, you don't have anything in you. Yeah, because I can pick it up. So if I can pick it up, you've got nothing in you, but you do. You now. Alright, let's replenish the oxygen. I need to find some more silver because I really want the compass because I will help. I'm still gonna get lost once I get the compass, but it will help. Nope, those are all the dead fish or the rotten fish that I cooked and can't eat. This might be a good game to actually, see. I don't know. Zeke, you're still here. You can tell me what your thoughts are. Maybe use Dixper for this game. Might be fun. Expert. It will be fun since it's a challenge. Let's work on survival
Oxygen.
first, and then maybe we'll work on expert. I mean, I'm daring, but I'm not that daring. I want to figure out the game before I worry about expert. Besides, expert might be something, you know what, if I figure it out, it might be something that once I figure this out, I might consider doing expert with, and I might regret saying this, but I might consider doing expert with like crowd control or something and let you know you really screw with me. I just have to figure it out still. I gotta figure out how to set up crowd control and do my research on it because my antivirus software likes to flag it as a virus, and I don't generally like to install stuff like that on my computer. All I want is one piece of goddamn silver. That's it. I mean, plenty of titanium and copper, but you know what? When I need it later, I won't be able to find it. This way. No, not really. Okay. Dang, that battery dies fast. I'm sure turning off the flashlight will help, though. Yeah, I would really...
Oxygen.
I wouldn't mind, you know, getting a little bit more stuff where people can be involved a little more and mess with me and try to make it harder for me to play the games. I just want to at least play it once without being messed with. I do enjoy the story parts of these games, and it's hard to enjoy the story when you're being messed with.
Warning. 30 seconds of
Just was
oxygen
it the-
remaining.
I was just at the surface. Alright. I don't know what that is. There's an oxygen plant down here, though, so... Shit, 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 shit. Can I scan it? Do I try? It's a brute shark. Scanned it, but we're about to run out of oxygen. But there's the
Warning.
plant down
30
here.
seconds of oxygen remaining.
Okay, what the hell is that? I don't know what that is.
That sounds like a distress call.
It does, but
Transmission of unknown origin. Source of transmission depth calculated at approximately 200 meters. Oxygen.
sea truck? Shit. Shit. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I think I drowned. Yeah, I drowned. I wasn't paying attention to my oxygen. I was paying attention to the sea truck. And apparently this death cost me to lose some stuff. I wonder what I lost. Quite a bit. Right. Can I... While I'm here, can I make a new battery? I don't actually know, 'cause I don't know what's left in my inventory here. I think I can actually make a new battery. Yes, I can. Good. Alright, we're gonna keep that battery with us. And we're gonna try. Because it said, I wonder if it saved the... It didn't. It's fine. We'll just keep pushing until we kind of find that area again. I don't know exactly where it was, sadly, but we'll keep moving and hopefully we'll eventually find it again.
Warning. 30 seconds of
So we
oxygen
kind of
remaining.
might have just found the area. That's... 'cause I know it was like somewhere around this. I don't know if this is the specific area. There's also the oxygen plant
Warning.
there. We're
Passing 100 meters. Oxygen efficiency decreased.
okay, so
Alterra beacon signature detected. Unique identifier. Delta Station dock.
Delta Station
Delta Station.
dock.
This is the place Lil mentioned in her message.
I have to be careful because the oxygen levels, though, because 100. I don't know. It's the supply cache. Maybe.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Yeah. We need to surface. Yeah, this is where we were at, but we might not. We might run into problems down here, but we're gonna take our chances because there might be some useful shit down here. Because once you get down to 100 meters in this game, it looks like the oxygen wears thinner, which is fine, but there's stuff here. And I want it. Good shit. High capacity O2 tank coming down here was fucking worth it.
Oxygen.
Shit. Hold on. Okay, we might have to come back though. We're gonna take our chances and try again to look around here. Just because I'm here. We got the beacon, so that means that eventually I'll find my shit.
Warning. Passing 100 meters. Oxygen efficiency decreased.
Let's scan it. Don't have much time. Builder fragment. Alright. More water. Alright, we're gonna have to
Oxygen.
get shit. We got the habitat
Blueprint
builder.
synthesized.
Alright, so we can head to that later. For now, we're gonna head back to... Actually, what we're gonna do is we're gonna head to the surface. Because I don't have to worry about oxygen on the surface. What can I need the... I need silver for that, so I still have to find silver. So... Where is... That's the emergency supply cache. We're gonna take our chances and head toward the Delta dock. Just try to stay above 100 meters for now. And... Shit. There we go. Hopefully the base builder will also give me the ability to make a flashlight. Or a battery charger.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
It's fine, we'll... Got silver, got some silver. Get me the We're gonna just keep moving toward the Delta station.
Mineral-rich crevices detected below.
So
Geothermal
we're
activity
good.
detected. Caution advised.
Okay, let's avoid. Good shit. That means I should have enough silver to maybe actually accomplish what I want. Build the tank and to do whatever, the wiring kit to get the compass. What we got here? This is much more than what I was expecting. Like, much more than I was expecting. Maybe I can actually find some useful tech here. Got a desk, got a coffee machine, trash can. Bench, so basically a furniture, water, nothing else I can scan here. And what's my inventory look like? Okay. Weather looks like it's getting bad. We might want to make my way inside if there is actually a base here.
This is a recorded message. If you can hear this, you're trespassing. If you know what's good for you, you'll get the hell out of here.
Where's the... Is there anywhere I can go into? Is there... I'm gonna freeze to... Shit. Now I know what I need to do. I don't think it's gonna work because I can't see. I just froze to death. And probably lost items in the process. Maybe. Yep, but at least I know where I lost them. Did I lose? Oh, shit. I lost some silver. God. That's fine. Let's see. Right now, I want to see what I can do to... That's fine. I want to make that. That's more important to me right now. Alright, so I need 4 titanium, 2 pieces of glass. Was it 2 pieces of glass? Yes. Good, so we'll go ahead and we'll grab the... No, I don't have to go outside, okay. Alright, we'll take you off. Okay, let's... No, we're not interested in that. The beacon's cool, but I'm not worried about the beacon right now. I want the O2 tank. Alright, so thermos requires titanium and glass. That I have. No, it's here. All right, let's dash you. We can go out here. We can grab some salt real quick. I don't want to pick it up. I want to go in there. That's the one not the one I need. Grab like 4 pieces of salt. Let's get like 6 more bladderfish or so. I don't know. We're gonna grab a decent stack because we're gonna cook 4. Yeah, so we got 4 to cook. So we're gonna grab at least 2 to 3 more for water. Maybe even 4. We might get greedy. Just because I don't want to run out. We're gonna head back to that base though and try to get the stuff I lost. So we're gonna make 4 bottles of water, and then we're gonna we're going to cure for the bladderfish so we have food that won't expire on me. Good on that. All right. So now we are going to make my way back to Delta Station, try to pick up what I lost. And probably pretty much just run because I don't want to lose more. I need to get my silver back though so I can make the wiring kit, so I can make the compass, so I can try to have sense of direction. What is that? This is new. We're not going to be able to survive up here though for long, so we have to find we do have to find a way up. Watch, there's a ladder over there. I think. Yes. But we are, again, you have to be mindful. Pay attention to temperatures, because that is a thing.
New blueprint synthesized.
It's shit. Alright, that's it. That's all we're gonna do. We're gonna get back in the water, and we're gonna head back toward the Delta dock. And we're gonna see. At least I know if I go back in the water, I'll warm up, which is weird. At least it works. We're not gonna go too far down. Actually, we might be able to get away with a little more, but not that daring right now. Let's speed this up. Especially because I don't know what the hell is around here now. Fuck is that? I'm not gonna look, just keep moving. Like it isn't worth it. It really isn't. This. Yo, yep. Decided after I finished. Welcome back, by the way, Zach. Man, I decided to finish. Start below zero after I finished Rise of the Tomb Raider. After my internet came back, because right as I finished Rise of the Tomb Raider and I started playing, where's my sense of direction? I need to go up. Back underwater. I don't want to freeze to death. But right as I finished and started below zero, my internet went down. Like there was an outage in my shit. Nope, scan that first. There was an internet outage for about 45 minutes. So kind of threw a wrench in my plan, but you know what? It's fine. It just meant, you know what? It gave me time to actually eat and whatnot. All right, let's go up. Bam. I've already been killed by some creepy ass shit in this game once. And, yes. I don't even know what it was. Where's my way up? I only have so long on the surface, so I need to hurry the hell up. Where is the ladder? Hopefully, you know, you got some good groceries. So you said you were grocery shopping earlier, so hopefully you didn't break the bank or whatever there too. You think about Below Zero stuff? So far, it's actually, I like the game. I really think it's got a lot of potential. Only been playing for what, an hour and a half. Already died 3 times, one of which from something. Don't know what it was because I wasn't able to find out. I just died. And the other 2 times, well, actually no, you know, I lied. I forgot. Nothing has killed me yet. Almost killed me. I died of drowning. And twice because I wasn't paying attention and I went much deeper down than I should have. And I died. Hell no. And I died from freezing to death. I think we're getting the hell out of this area. We're gonna go back. To get the silver I need, we're gonna make the compass. Had to go to 3 stores to find some damn mink. Mink or milk? Shit. No, back on. But either way, sucks having to go to 3 stores just to find one thing. I will have to brave grocery shopping tomorrow, weather permitting. Yeah, okay, I still, you know, I want to see if I can scan this without getting electrocuted. Anything to scan? No. But yeah, so far it's a really good game. I mean, I have no complaints, except for, you know, the oxygen voice is very annoying in the beginning of the game. So basically I kind of rush getting the oxygen tanks because you'd have like maybe 15 seconds of oxygen, then 30 seconds of oxygen, and now I've got a little more. I haven't heard this voice yet for the oxygen reminder. One of the biggest differences though is so far is that your pod is underwater, which was not expected. Like you start underwater instead of starting above water. All right, let's fill the wiring kit. I can then make the compass. Still gonna get lost, but at least it's a little less likely to get lost. All right, so I got the copper wire in here. I don't actually. I thought I had copper wire. I do, right there. Ah, good. Yeah, it's kind of what I thought. I just, you know, it's like I don't know anyone that would go to 4 stores for a mink. Yeah, it's one crazy thing. Yeah, it's one crazy thing I like about this one. It starts in the water and it's not scary. I don't know, it got me a couple times. But it might just be because, you know, Might just be because I wasn't into what I was doing and then it got me. How do I make... Can I make it? I mean, there's new tools though. It's like this mineral detector, that's new. Flares save your ass in this game from what I've gathered, except I forgot to turn the flare on when it could have saved me. There's the compass. I don't even know if it would have saved me, but it had a possibility of saving me. Alright, so let's see. I'm gonna find out and see, because honestly at this point, I'm not even worried about the questing. Like, I've had like a transmission or two come up. One came up in an area I died in, and then I have to find my way back to that. The other one, I found one, but and it directed me toward that base, and that's it. Let's see, can I make the mineral scanner? I can make beacons. I should probably make a couple beacons. Eventually I'll end up making a base. I'm not quite there yet. Make a coffee vending machine. That's good. Let's see. Am I blind? Or did I pass it? Might be a little bit of both. I'm very interested in wanting to see this. I want to find this one more piece. Sea truck sounds freaking cool. Mineral detector. Okay. I wonder if... I mean, it needs a battery, so I wonder... I don't know where that's made at. We're going to hold off on that for now. We are... Do you listen to all the PDA entries? I haven't listened to them yet. I can. I picked up a few.
Holy smokes. That did not go as planned. I should find a way into the water and get to the drop pod.
I already listened to that one. This is actually different than the first one because the PDAs, you know, they were used, but there wasn't really as much a story that I can recall. Alright, so I think we
Found the drop pod.
I think I might have listened to this
Sam,
one too.
I guess I might as well gather some tools and resources before starting my search.
I'm talking about
That
this
radio
tab
tool
here.
is easy to spot, as Lil said.
Where... Oh, these. Like, you're talking about like these ones here? Can take a quick
Picked up
listen.
What sounds like a distress call. Who or what is out here calling for help? Didn't sound human. Maybe it's from a remnant of architect technology. In her message, Sam's colleague did say there was something important here. Even if it's just a mimic from one of the more intelligent aquatic specimens, that could be a major find. Or if it's from Alterra, it could have bearing on what happened to Sam. I should definitely check it out.
Maybe it's time to use the glasses. Well, you can try, but it's only going to be for like 5 to 10 minutes.
Dropping into an unknown area, but luckily,
Luckily, I don't have to read anything though.
I can use for tools and upgrades.
Too much.
I didn't want another situation like Bazantos 5. When Xenoworks dropped me off, there were barely any resources. I survived off the land for 3 months with just a knife, my lucky PDA, and some rope. I am still kind of proud of that, though.
For now, we'll go ahead and we'll listen to the rest of these. Okay, well, these really aren't anything to listen to. They're just making me want to go back to play this again. Nothing wrong with that so far, honestly. I like these open world survival, like story-based crafting games. I really do, just because, you know, it's a little bit of chill and a little bit of, you know, progressing if you want. Alright, let's just be smart and do a quick save. Alright. Let's see. At this point, that's not what I wanted. I want to see. Right now, I'm just in the, like, exploring and crafting phases. Eventually I'll get through the story more. It's just there's so much. You know, we're gonna be smart though if I can. Where did I have the wiring kit? What was the wiring kit for? Making me, oh yeah, I will say that the open world aspect of this one is substantially smaller than the first one. Not going to spoil anything. Obviously, that's fine. I mean, the last one was huge. I mean, I think I had like 60 hours of gameplay in that game. And, you know, I still, you know, I beat it, but I still don't feel that I was actually done. I feel like I could run through it more again. Am I trying to... What do I want to do? That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make some beacons, copper and titanium. So I want to try to keep a few beacons with me if I find anything worthwhile. I don't want to make the mistakes of the first game, which actually that's one kind of benefit to playing this more is I can avoid making the mistakes of the first game.
To mark traverse territory. Show or hide the signals of your choice with your Xenoworks PDA.
By having beacons.
Now with surface support.
So yeah, the first game I definitely made mistakes. I don't know why I had an extra wiring kit, but that's fine. You can go here for now until I figure out what the purpose of that is, or until I can get the coffee stuff. You can go with me there. All right, let's... All right, so that being said, if I can find it, we're gonna go, but if I can find it again, that area, where was it? Can't remember. I think it was this way. We started to come down like to this area here, not quite this area here, and we're exploring. And died, so I kind of want to see if I can find that area again. I think it was on the way to this beacon, but I can't remember exactly where. I think it was actually somewhere in this area. Maybe I don't know, maybe we didn't die, maybe I just ran away.
Warning, passing 100 meters. Oxygen efficiency decreased.
Got to do a little bit of exploring here. You look like a sea lion. Fine, let's... PDA.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Let's see if we can make it without having to use the ladder. And the cool thing is this plant here like replenishes your oxygen too. So if I can remember that's there. That's a large if. Or if I can find it. Mobile vehicle bay fragment, okay. So now I'm one fragment away from being able to craft mobile vehicle bay, that's good. Keeping an eye on oxygen. There's the plant if I need it. You know what? We're gonna use it. because they do respawn, if I'm not mistaken. And there's another one down there. And another one there. So we're going to try to get greedy here. I don't know what this is. Sea truck fragment. Good shit. Of course, it's not going to do me anything without the last fragment for the mobile vehicle bay.
New technology acquired.
There's the plant. I need the oxygen plant. We're gonna need one. Where's it at?
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. I can't find the oxygen plant. We're gonna. There's an oxygen plant. We're gonna kind of be daring here. Stable coral. And kind of see how far we can push.
Warning. Passing 100 meters. Oxygen efficiency decreased.
Yeah, that's just gonna give me more titanium. That's fine. So is that. Ooh, like shiny new toys. Hopefully I have enough oxygen to make it back up. Rebreather, there we go. That was worth it alone. This area definitely seems like it's gonna be worth. We'll just leave it for now. I'm not gonna worry about that because I don't have the
Warning. 30 seconds
oxygen for that, but the rebreather will help me explore this area better. And I can't wait to head back. For now, we're gonna make our. Well, actually, let's think smart about this. Let's see what I need to make the rebreather before I decide on. Okay, I should have all of that. It's gonna be well, maybe not the wire. No, I do have a wiring kit. Fiber mesh and silicone rubber. I should have all that. Got a lot of shit unlocked from this exploration already, though. Let's head back to base and make a rebreather. Improve my oxygen efficiency so I can go deeper and I can explore that area better. I think I should have all that stuff at base. If not, it's fine. I know where I can find it. And also might be a good idea if I can to make a new battery too. You know, how's my inventory? We're just gonna make sure we got. Alright, so we got that. Let's see if I can find. It's here. Only thing that throws me about this game is I'm so used to the seeds being yellow and they're red, so it messes me up. So I'm looking for yellow, not red. There we go. Just so this way I don't have to. Okay, my inventory's full. fine. We should be good. I think I have some of that back at the base. If not, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually name these so I don't have to guess what's what or just shit, not pick it up. There. At least this way I'll know. Well, shit. Wasn't paying attention to oxygen. See about the rebreather. Another battery just to take with me. Okay, so I need. We'll get to that in a minute. Oh, I need. Okay, we'll see. We might have to go back out. No. Alright, so I need the wiring. Alright, let's make the rebreather now. Where is it at? It's going to be under equipment.
The rebreather facilitates extensive free diving by recycling air more efficiently at significant depths. Breathe the freedom.
That's going to be great. Alright. We're going to go ahead and we're going to... What do I want? I want it to make another battery. What does the battery require? I don't remember. Alright, I might have to update that one because that one, I don't know, or just be... No, it's power cell. I'm not worried about that. Copper and ribbon plant because that one I've gotten used to, or... You know, get me when I'm really intently focused. That one might get me then. Good try, though. Don't know if I have enough. Need... No, I want a... No, it's under... Tools, I think. Where the hell is it? I thought it was under... Okay, so I need one more... I can take a spare battery with me because I don't need... I don't need to make the mistake of being really far out without a battery and not being able to make it. That should get me what I need. Yep. Eventually I'll be able to get a battery recharger when I get to a point where I'm going to establish a base and whatnot, or maybe even here, but I haven't quite made it that far yet. Let's go ahead. Nope, I want battery. That being said, we're going to keep the battery with me. We're going to... Alright, I guess we're going to go out here. You're good. Oh no, you're full, so I can't... One of you should be empty or close to empty. Maybe not empty, but good enough that I can store shit. You're good, you're good. Do I have an... For now, we can do that. I know it's going to be a mess, but... Alright, I want to... Not the creep vine. It's just going to be the unnamed beacon. Okay, beacon 3. Okay. Alright, so we still have about the same oxygen level, but hopefully the rebreather will make it, so that won't matter. Honestly, that part I don't remember. My inventory's okay. We're gonna head toward the beacon. We may explore down here eventually further, but I already kind of explored there. Oxygen plants are a really nice touch, though. I like it. I like it a lot because at least it adds an extra nice little element to the game where you can potentially, you know, that's a really far down PDA. Where am I? I don't like this. There's going to be something down here to kill me. I almost guarantee it. What is that? That is new. I don't know what the hell that is. You know what? I don't care. I don't care right now. I'm not willing to find out. We want to go deeper, but I want my stasis rifle before, if the stasis rifle's a thing, I want it before I go deeper down there. Alright, it's a sea glide fragment. I know I kind of am going to have to go down there, though. That's just... Well, no, I don't have to surface. Alright, we're going to get the oxygen here. Then we're going to do a quick save. That really didn't work. What is that? Alien tech again, it looks like. That might have been that message when I died. It sounds like the SOS. It's not full air, but heck, it's better than no air. Ooh. Could be.
Critical.
Hello? Is someone there?
In a manner of speaking. We're running out of time.
I don't know what I just found. I mean, I know it's alien tech, but other than that, I don't know anything at this point.
What is all this?
Seeking emergency storage medium.
I can help you better if you show yourself.
It definitely looks like it's getting good. I don't know anything about where I'm at.
Physical presence. Are you one of them? An architect?
Storage medium identified. We will be lost unless we find a new host. Can you help?
Can you use my PDA for storage?
You are not with the group from before. Your cybernetic components bear their signal.
Altera? No, my equipment is, borrowed.
It will have to do.
We got an ad about to start in 30 seconds here, everybody, as well. We've got a 3-minute ad. Gives me a minute to go ahead and stretch and keep moving. So it was worth coming down here. Alright, let's see what we got. Alright, that should be starting any minute now, everybody. Take a couple minute ad break. Okay, scan one. Don't forget to do that. This is the perfect time for an ad break. I honestly hope so. I mean, I don't like all the ads every once in a while, but you know what? The ads give you an hour of uninterrupted gameplay, so take it. I kind of don't want to push forward though. I'm waiting. There we go. I will see everybody back in about 3 minutes. Thanks for sticking around. All right, and we are back. Thanks for sticking around, and thanks for welcome back, and thanks for playing the words on stream. I figured it's better than sitting there and staring at a BRB screen. So, all right, I already went that way.
How long have you been stored here?
Longer than hoped. Warning. Sanctuary power critical. Our data can be downloaded from the terminal. We may speak more once the transfer is complete.
Yes.
This
Okay.
is going to be interesting. I don't know if I trust this. I mean, we'll do it, but I don't know if I trust it.
Storage medium accepted. Brace for transfer.
Brace?
Oh shit.
What's happening?
Transfer.
That was definitely not what I expected. Kind
Transfer
of
complete.
AI into human.
Why do you sound like you're inside my head?
The facility identified hospitable capacity within your cerebral cortex.
You are in my head? I offered you my PDA! Get out!
Oh, damn.
Does your kind perceive a boundary between cybernetic and organic components?
My
Yes.
mind is not a component.
You sound angry. We will allow you a moment to process.
Don't you go silent on me.
Shit.
Hello? This is not happening. That's the explanation. It's not happening.
God damn. That is insane. And he definitely wasn't
Vital
thinking.
signs stabilizing.
Definitely wasn't thinking that was gonna happen. Not gonna lie. PDA, maybe. Interesting, though. I can't wait to see how this pans out. How kind of him to give her a moment to cope. Oh yeah, just a moment. That's like, You could have at least led with that's what you were gonna do. I don't think this place is worth coming back to. Oh, definitely. You know what? It's definitely cool on some level to hear, like, to think about it happening on some level. But the fact that it happened, nope. No, thanks. Let's take her. Not to avoid electrocution, but interesting. I can't wait to see how this pans out, though, now. More so, now I'm even more wanting to know. Yeah, still, I'd be freaking out a lot a bit here, too.
Seek fluid intake.
Just did. I don't have enough water for this. Oh, god damn. That was... Damn it, Zach. Good one. And thanks for the 10 bits, too, man. It's like, damn, I know I'm drinking water, but I'm not going through it that fast. Damn. I didn't even know you could go in and do that on Blurb. Like, you could find stuff on your own. I don't think that's one of the ones I picked. I didn't think you could. I didn't know you could do that. You did get me. I don't remember what I picked, though. I don't remember what all of my sound alerts happened to be for this game. Or this game on Blurb. I don't know. We're gonna go further down. I'm probably gonna regret this, but fuck it. Because I want to... I kind of want to find this other piece for the vehicle station or whatever. And this is why I came prepared this time, because I learned the last time. Bring extra batteries. I don't like that. Finding diamonds already. Who's that? A siege. There's a Sea-Truck fabricator module, so you don't even need the mobile vehicle bay. Okay. Let's see, can I scan diamonds? I don't remember. No. Okay. But I know we're going to pick up as much as I can, and I'm almost tempted to... You know what? Fuck, almost tempted. We're going to do it. I just want to... Good enough. Alright, so now at least I have an idea of one place I can find diamonds. So I need one more piece to build that. Alright. What is that? It said I could scan it. I don't know what I could...
Oxygen.
Shit. I wasn't paying attention to my oxygen again. I really wasn't, so thank you for the bits and that warning, because I probably would have drowned. Still gotta try to find a way out of here.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Oh, it's good, but damn. Oh, good. Good shit. Alright, now I gotta find my way out of here, though. No, that one wasn't you, but I'm glad that oxygen plant was there, because without it, I'd be dead. Alright. Alright, let's go. Come on. I need to get out of here. I'm not worried about the coral right now. I just need to get find my way out of here. I'm so glad I made that leader thing. Yes, the oxygen plants are super useful and fuck. Time to, I'd say time to run, but I'm moving as fast as I can. Short of, you know what, fuck it. I'm getting away. I ain't getting eaten by that thing. Fuck it, whatever the hell it is. We'll get the sea truck and maybe see how much further we can go. Yeah, oxygen plants are a lifesaver though. The only thing I'm struggling with is like, I don't have all the vehicles and all the equipment that I had in the other Subnautica yet, and I want to just like full send jump into shit, but I know it's not a smart idea. I know I will regret it. But I do have a lingering suspicion now after the after what that AI did. I have a lingering suspicion. We'll have to see if I'm right or wrong with how the story pans out. The hell am I? The hell is that? That's
We
new.
understand this arrangement is undesirable to you.
You're not real. Go away.
To go, we require a suitable body for transfer.
Why do you keep saying we? How many of you are there?
One of us and all of us. We do not think of ourselves as individual, distinct.
Why don't you start by telling me who you are?
You may append your seed code to my species designation. Please call me Al-An.
My whole life I've been dying to meet a sapient spacefaring alien up close, and you're telling me your name is Alan?
Is it insufficient?
No, it's fine.
Kind of
Perfect.
plain.
Where are you from, Alan?
Your kind calls us architects.
The precursor race. But what are you doing here?
That is a long story. Perhaps you will prefer to focus on the construction of a new storage medium to which I may transfer.
Yes. Fine, absolutely. How do we get you out of my head?
I have added the information to your databank. You will need to find the necessary components.
Any idea where I can find them?
It is unclear. I have been disconnected from my network for so long I cannot locate the coordinates.
Alright, yeah, that's definitely a little frustrating, not gonna lie. We're gonna go ahead and unpin this. I want to see. I am thinking we are gonna probably build a habitat sooner rather than later at this point. I think I have all the lead. I don't know about all the lead, but at least should have enough to build this. Plasteel ingot should just require titanium. No, I've got lead. I'm not sure on the. I don't think I have any gold yet. We're not going to be able to do that. I don't know if I have any lithium. So this might be not possible. Okay, I've got some lithium. I don't know. Well, for now, let's grab. To try to get inventory stuff out. Oh. One lithium, which probably is all I've got, unless I've got some outside. No. knew I suck. Oh, so you can stay there. Want to build more storage here? Actually, I might. Actually, I think I'm going to do that. And let's take a look. I don't know if I like all that stuff I'm hearing out there. I'm not going to lie. I don't need the repair tool yet, although I will. I still need the computer chip for that, so I can't build the habitat builder, which means I can't build the storage lockers. That's fine. What I can do though is I can build the at least one of these, maybe two more, so I can. We're gonna build 3 more just because I know I'm gonna need them.
Calorie intake recommended.
And then we'll. I thought I had. Oh, I guess I'm 1 short.
Vital signs stabilizing.
I'm gonna stick the ion cubes in there because I really don't think I'm gonna need them right now. Oh, it's the diamonds. That's 4.
Survival rate would be greatly enhanced with the construction of an underwater vehicle.
Trying to. I just need lead for that. Well, at the moment, that's the next thing I need. We're gonna store, or lithium, excuse me, not lead. We gotta go fish hunting though. Tell you one thing though I have discovered is this game is kind of, and it might be because I played the first one, but it feels like it's kind of making me feel like I have to craft things to succeed for earlier on in the game, like the base building tool or storage units, stuff of that nature that, you know, in the other game you wouldn't have crafted, at least I didn't craft for quite a while. I need to get... Right, it should be 4. I want to get at least 3 to 4 more because I want to try to have 4 bottles of water with me while I'm out there. I definitely don't want to make the mistake of drowning. Alright, so it's 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1 more. Alright, we're gonna have to. Well, we should be good. We're gonna probably have to go in the base though, and then back out, get salt. But we can take care of 4 bottles of water first. I think this should be 4. Yes, so let's go get 4 things of salt from wherever I have salt out here. Salt. No, I want cured. because the cured food doesn't expire. Alright, so that's done. So if I can make it. So for you, I need the battery. I'm not really worried about. I'm worried about the wiring kit and the computer chip. So, and so we got our go-to list. So I need to get silver, which I'm not regretting it. That stuff's easy to get. Just drop. Okay, let's see what's down here. I kind of want to see what this truck thing looks like, so I really want to work on getting that built because it looks like it's going to be cool. We want to at least the resources seem to be quite plentiful right now. One nice thing. And I just went wrong. Not really the wrong way. I just went around in a circle. Up that one. I'm gonna head this way and just see. We're gonna surface. Ooh, what's that? That looks cool. I want to know what that is. Oh, it's an oxygen plant. The blue lighting from that oxygen plant looks freaking cool. Seeing that from a distance, that is nice. A lot of things that look really good in this game, though. There was another reason it was worth coming here. More table coral. Well, we know what it is now, but didn't want to find out that's what it was that way. And yeah, we're still alive though, so we'll take it. Need to find I want you. Good shit, I can make the mobile vehicle day. I'm not sure what vehicles I can make with it, but at least I can make it. Want to find gold. There's an oxygen plant. We're gonna take advantage of that. Well, gold is one of the things I want to find. There's a lot of resources I need to find. And my inventory is full now. Shit. Need salt right now. That'll help for now. There's certain things I'll drop because I don't need them. I don't know what that was. Didn't sound friendly though. Chance of gold. Good shit. How much? I need at least 2 gold because I need 2 computer chips. And I need 2 coral. 2 more tabletop coral as well, so. Good shit, got that. Let's.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Yeah, we're working on it. Not them again. Fuck. Although now I do need to find out where that came from because where did that come from? Alright. It's good. For now, I think we're not great, but we're at least somewhat good. We can at least make the computer chips. We just need to get out of here. Nice if I can find some oxygen.
30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Fuck it. That's exactly what that is for. Let's head back to the pod here. So I've got the copper. I'll worry about the silver in a minute, but at least I can get some of this stuff out of my inventory. Because I can make the 2 computer chips. 1 for the base builder. I can worry about the battery later. The wiring kit or the advanced wiring kit I can worry about in a little bit. And I do like how they added the stuff where you can see what the rocks may contain, because that makes it a lot easier than trying to guess too. It's like trying to remember, because there's a lot of that to remember. What's the... Alright, for now we're not going to worry about that. We're going to, what do I need? Wait. Oh no, we do need that, okay. Copper wire to make a computer chip. So we got the 2 computer chips. Well, we have the 2 computer chips now. Battery's not a big deal. You're a wiring kit, which requires 2 silver. Do I have 2 silver? 1 silver. Alright, let's see. So, do I have 1 silver outside, or do I have to go hunting for silver? Might have to go hunting. I cannot remember. So I got the lithium, the battery there. Those can actually, battery can come with me. The lithium can stay put. So there was nothing in that one. Need you. Salt. Well, actually, I did. I think I did stick some. Nothing that I really need. There. So I don't have. Didn't do them all. I think so. Let's. Yep, into that one. That's salt. That one's empty. It's fine. So I need. Let's see what I have in here. So I don't have any more lithium. I need 2 lithium. Alright, so let's see. Okay, so we're gonna take the rotten stuff out because it's rotten, so there's no point in keeping it if it's bad. No problem, Zeke. Thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you later. Hope you have a good rest of your Sunday. Well, thanks again. You know, I'll be back tomorrow running through. At least the plan is tomorrow, since I don't have to work, to run through more of this game. I don't know how much more, but that's my plan. I probably don't have too much longer left tonight. Probably about another half an hour or so for the night, because been on for quite a few hours today. Oh shit! And I done fucked that up. I didn't want to eat them. Son of a bitch.
Vital signs stabilizing.
And I don't have a health kit. Shit. Can I make any health kits? I don't even know. Fiber mesh. Do I have any fiber mesh? Silicone rubber. No, I'm gonna need to go get some, what makes fiber mesh? What makes fiber mesh? Creep vines. Fuck. Shit, I actually ate and almost killed me. My fault. We're gonna go grab some of this mesh, make some med kits, restore my health. I need to see how many more of those I can. Okay, I can take quite a few, so we're gonna get greedy and fill up my inventory. Go and make as many med kits as I can. Because I fucked that up. And that could have been a costly fuck up. At least the only plus side of that costly fuck up would have been I would have dropped everything right outside my base. Alright, now I need so fiber mesh. Oh, it's all I need. Okay, we're gonna turn all of this into fiber mesh. Fuck it. And we're gonna make health kits. Because that was a dumbass mistake. It's alright though. We didn't die. And even if we did, you learn. Pay attention to the buttons you're gonna press when you're playing the game. Alright. So now I need to grab, because of that, I need food and water stuff, so I have to go hunt for bladderfish. Because they're the most nutritious thing. I might even need more salt. I will have to check. I think it will, and I actually dropped some in the cave because my inventory was full. Alright, that's fine. Just lessons learned, you know. Pay the hell attention to what you press. Don't fuck up. Won't need any of you right now. No problem again. Thanks for hanging out. You know, I'll catch you later. And for now, I want to find the salt locker because I need to grab. Got one piece of salt. That's fine. So what we can do is we will cure you. And we'll cook the others and just eat them right now since water isn't low. And this way they won't go bad on me. Let's do a quick save. Alright, I have... don't. For my plan here, I'm gonna need to do that too. Or actually find it. You're empty. I don't need you. You're empty too. I don't want to pick you up. I want to oh, that's a weird shadow distance. Okay. Need to make a replacement battery. So to make a replacement battery, no, we're gonna make 2 replacement batteries, which means I need to go get 2 of those things from down here. Not you, it's just you happen to be there and I need you too, so we're just gonna get you. There's one. One more. Might be one here. Yes, there is. Good. This nothing. I don't need quartz right now. Quartz is pretty easy to get. Now we're making 2 batteries this time because we're gonna get. I'm gonna try to keep. I want to try to keep. Okay, well, I think I need 1 more copper. No, I need, okay, so forget it. We're only gonna make the 1 battery, that's fine. So we got the 1 battery. We got, you know what, actually, I think we got a couple more fish we can use to Make water. We're gonna head out and try to find silver. Which, if I recall correctly, was somewhat close to the creep vine. At least it's one location I remember where I was able to find some, I believe. If I can build the base crafting tool, the base builder tool, I can then expand things a little more. And I'm not gonna turn that down. It's just quartz and not. What is that? It'll give me, okay. More titanium, which I'm not gonna turn down titanium. Alright, let's see. Good shit. Need one more silver for what I want to accomplish right now. I mean, I need more than one, but I think I actually need 4 silver. Salt. We're gonna try and find 4.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Shit. Wasn't paying attention to that. Where's an oxygen plant? Otherwise, I'm gonna have to, rush up. We'll just go up and come back down.
Oxygen.
And I see an oxygen plant to the left, as long as I don't lose sight of it. And silver, of course, gives me titanium. Which is fine, it's just not what I need at the moment. Titanium is one thing I actually have in an abundance at the moment. Alright. Fine, at least I came prepared for that. Okay, so I need... one more piece of silver. What's coming down here to get it might have been a bad idea. Lithium, I think. I didn't get a good look. I was too busy, you know, listening to whatever was trying to kill me. Who are you? Sea-Truck storage module, that's useful. Alright, we need to start making my way. Yeah, I'm gonna start making my way back up. But we're gonna now start making my way back up. Shit! Fuck! Fuck. Hell no! Fuck. Time to run, if I can. I might be dead. I don't know what the hell this is, but fuck. I gotta go down there to get all my shit back.
The location of some important technology. I implore you to investigate.
Will this help us build you a body?
I do not know what
Yeah.
you'll find.
I don't know what that was.
Signal location uploaded to PDA.
We are... Fuck it, we're going back. I need my shit back. It was by the Diamonds Beacon, so... Fuck it, we're going back. I don't want to, we're going back. I have no idea what that thing was, though. But I lost too much stuff I lost too much shit to not go back, and this isn't where I needed to go. It's not going to get me there. And then we'll worry about the beacon over there. Alright, let's be smart about this though. Before we go back down there, let's get oxygen. I don't exactly know where my shit fell, but we're gonna try and find it. Somewhere down here, that much I know. That's about all I know. Wasn't here. I need that stuff. Because that was a lot of... a lot of what I actually was hunting for. What I came down here for. So I just gotta find it. There's diamonds galore, but it's not what I'm looking for. You need you. don't think I went the right way. On the sad part is I don't really know what all I had with me either. That I lost. Maybe it was this way. Maybe we'll get lucky. I think it might have been this way because I am hearing ish anyway, because I'm hearing the roar of whatever the hell that thing is.
Warning. 30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, it's gonna be down here somewhere, but I
Oxygen.
need to get out of here. Shh. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I don't think I'm gonna make it. Nope, I was way too far down, which just means I lost everything again. Well, maybe not everything, but I lost quite a bit of resources again. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick save, and I actually think that we're gonna go ahead and call it here for the night. I will be back tomorrow though. Probably around 12 or 1 p.m. Eastern, depending on how things go in the morning. I do appreciate everybody sticking around and hanging out. Hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow to continue going through the game. Thanks for sticking around, everybody. Have a good rest of your Sunday.
So I think I'll get the medium potions.
Like finding just the right thing, is there?
And literally can only buy 2 things. Okay. So 3, 6, 7, 8,500. Hey, Soulless Ginger, thank you for the raid. Welcome in, guys. How's it going? Hopefully everybody's having a good weekend. We're just smashing out quests here on Hogwarts Legacy. Trying to, at least. Lazarus. Raid. Nice, man. Welcome in.
What do we have here? A demiguise.
Wait, where's the demiguise? Where? Bro. How goes the game? It's going alright, man. Just chilling, honestly. We've been doing pretty good. I got a bunch of quests and stuff done. Oh, there's the demiguise. Okay. Let me rest till night. Or let me just wait. You literally just showed up. Nice.
Fine now, demiguise.
Okay. I'm gonna have to turn these into Mr. Moon because I don't actually know how many I have. Maybe I can check in my inventory. I'll try. Four demiguise moons, so that would put me at 7 out of 9. So I just need 2 more, and then if I turn them in, I'll be good. So these are the quests that I currently have. I was gonna do this one real fast because it's pretty easy. Most of these are I'm over leveled for, pretty much all these. I don't know why this one says level 20, whichever one, this one. I don't know why that says level 20, but we will find out. All right, man. Yeah, no worries. Appreciate the lurk and the raid. And hopefully you have a good rest of your day, man. Can you go through this door? You can. So both of these doors leads to his shop.
Revelio.
Let's see here. There were still some flying pages in this town. And various other things in this town that I haven't dealt with yet. There's one.
Accio. Revelio.
Let's oh. Oh, rip Lazarus.
Lumos.
Dread Generator with a party of 2. Welcome in, guys. How's it going? Welcome in.